Okay, we're good. We're live.
Whenever I'm ready.
Yeah, let's rock it. Game face. Sort of thing now.
Welcome, everybody, to the positive side. This is Jeremy Todd Roberts. That's right. Special guest host here tonight, filling in for Jeremy Todd in your favorite, your love, the positive side. Today, I have an amazing guest on my show. This is actually the third time on the show now.
It is?
Oh, it is. Now, the first two times I came on this show as a defeated man. I was at a very low point in my life. I was at a point where, I think I got turned down for by 10 different principal jobs all over Northeast Indiana. I was getting turned down left and right. And that's not all. That doesn't include all the ones that I applied for and didn't even mention from. And I was definitely defeated. But what happened after that is, a lot of people helped me out in life, but one man did help me out significantly during that time. And now I'm at a job now that I'm more enthused than I ever been before. And the term I think you have to say is unstuck. The term the guy always talks about is getting unstuck in life. And a lot of credit goes to this guy because he helped me during that time where I was low. And all of a sudden he gave me confidence, like you can get a job anywhere and do anything. You just got to go out there and put yourself out there. This man, he's going to share some stories tonight of redemption by overcoming some of the ugliness of being human beings, but also just finding the beauty in yourself, the beauty in others at the same time. While, as he states in his book many times, although I've never really felt this way about him, he is short in stature. He has always been the biggest person in the room to me, no matter what room you're in. Today on the show, special guest, Jeremy Todd.
Well, hey, I'm excited to be back on your show. I've looked forward to this for a long, long time. You're doing great things. And, thank you for all the kind words. I'm just glad to be here. I'm excited about the opportunity and excited to change some lives. Let's do this.
I've had to work really hard to get the show where it is today. I mean, those 3 times that I've been on, I'm pretty sure that's how we got into 200 countries. And
there's no question. There's no question.
5,000 different languages.
When you look at the stats, it goes from here to here, Todd Roberts, and then everybody else, Todd Roberts. I mean, it's great. It's great. I love it.
See that Adam Walton in your face. That's going to be the next Adam's conspiracy. He's going to come after me. All right, so he's like, who is that guy anyways? You always turn off your phones when you're doing stuff here. Anyways, so we are here today to talk about, for those here on watching the YouTube right now, the Positive Side book that is out. Yes, the man, the myth, the legend. Now the author, Jeremy Todd. The author, Jeremy Todd. So we're going to talk about this book here. And, I kind of, the book it doesn't put things in chronological order of your life, but I kind of put some stuff in here in question wise for that. So first of all, I mean, you bring a big attention to the fact though, that the height that you've always been shorter than people growing up. Can you just kind of talk about that?
Well, like you said, I'm 5'2". There's no question about that. And I think, over time when you're going through these things, and I use this example in the book talking about short, tall, fat, skinny, it doesn't really matter. But sometimes, your own worst critic. And the reason I talk about that a lot in the book is just because I want to relate to other people that maybe not be short, but they have the other things in their life. And, a lot of times you identify yourself in the darkness, when you're at home by yourself and you've had a bad day and then you start beating yourself up. And, I did that for a long time. And it was, I never used it truly as a crutch. I never used it as like, oh, woe is me. But it was something that was on my mind all the time. And, I'm 42 years old right now. It doesn't really affect me now because I think I'm more comfortable in my skin than I've ever been. And that's one of the reasons I wrote the book, is just to really share these things. And really more importantly, and I truly mean this with all my heart, it's really not for me, because I'm at a point at 42 years old that I'm pretty much, I get it now. I figured that part out, but it's for people that may be 20 years old or 30 years old, or it doesn't matter when it hits you. If you never have overcome whatever that physical obstacle is, that mental obstacle is, I just want to point out to everybody that you can get over it any time in your life. It doesn't matter what age you are.
Now, I know you say that I don't want to cut you off. That's what I do best.
It's your show, right?
Exactly. In your book, you actually wrote in there, it's easy to feel that if you don't look normal, you will never reach your potential.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
How did that play in your mind growing up?
Well, several things, man. I mean, and again, this is just, it's so silly to talk about. And
it's not silly. No, because honestly, I taught middle school for a billion years. I taught high school too. I did 15 years worth of that. And every kid has, every single human being out there has something that stops them. But I want to
Yeah.
know, like, specifically you, like, this issue here, how did it play in your mind when you tried to do things, when you looked at other people, when, like, what was going on?
Well, double-edged sword. It subconsciously told me that I was never gonna amount to anything. And again, I think everybody has this in their head where I can't do this because of this, because of that. And that was what I used a lot of times subconsciously in my own head, that I would think about, that I'm not going to be a star athlete. I'm not going to be the smartest guy in the class. I'm not going to be the coolest guy. It was just all these little things that just constantly beat it up. And it derived from the one fact of me in my own head that I was just a shorter guy than everybody else. And so I used that, but several things spiraled off of that. But again, it's just over time, and time heals all wounds. And you begin.
Let's talk about like the times when it was then, though. So like I know that you were a big sports fan growing up, because
I heard, yeah.
Because to full disclosure, we've known each other since we've been 2 months old.
Long time, 42 years old.
Time, yeah, 42 years. That's not many friendships that go that long when you're only 42 years old. But I know that you tried out for teams.
Yeah.
What was your mindset going into those? Did you think, I'm going out for basketball, 5'2", I'm going to make the team?
Yeah.
Or was it just like, I'm just going out for the fun?
That's a good question. I always thought I'd make the team, always. And it was like this argument within my own head, like, you've got no chance, you got no chance. But I'm like, I can do this. I can figure this out. Two stories that pop in my head when you tell this. A long, long time ago, when we were playing football at Frankie Park, and I think it was Coach Gleason. He's going to put me in the game. And it's the one day, I promise you, I remember walking, because I live close to the park, walking to the park, and I didn't have a mouthpiece that day. I remember walking there. I'm like, there's no chance I'm going to play. No chance I'm going to play. That's the day I get called in to play. I've got no mouthpiece. I got to come back out of the game. I didn't get a chance to play. So it was great. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, the one chance I get. It was that chance. And then the same opportunity when I had basketball, Coach Joe Krause, he put me in the game. And it was so on there. I remember like it was yesterday. It was like, I grabbed the ball and he's like, bring it up the court, but they could sense fear in me. So it was like all 5 guys from the other team just completely surrounded me, and I had no chance. It was like ball stolen. They're going over the other way, high-fiving, and I'm like, man, and I was out of the game just like that. But even getting to that point, it was interesting that, number one, I had a strong support team. I mean, at that age, let's be realistic. I mean, I was fragile at best, and I hid it from a lot of my confidence and just the sheer ego that I had, that I would get over a lot of these things. But to have the chance, and that really made that helped a lot. It made me feel that no matter what can go on in my life, I can at least get a chance. And just because the chance didn't work out, at least I put myself in the position to win. I didn't win, but I at least had an opportunity. And I think sometimes when you don't actually get yourself to that point where just give me a chance, it's not always going to work out. It's never going to work out. I talk about it in the book too, with like going for that job, and I walked in third month or third week or whatever the case it was. And I told the general manager, hey, I'm going to be the next manager. I had no chance doing it at that time, but I had to give myself an opportunity. And when you give yourself an opportunity in life, just to try it, sometimes doors open, and that door ended up opening up, and it's put me where I am today. So I don't know, it's a long story, a long answer.
No, I mean, it is. And we'll get more into that later, like the job you had there, but like, it is pretty amazing though, like the confidence you've had in yourself forever. And that's something that, like, we're kind of like opposites of each other in a lot of ways. I mean, I'm a 6'2" ogre. I broke, I think, everything in your dad's house at some point.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, I would step in a room and I'd cower, I'd be the guy standing on the wall. But like that, and if one thing went wrong for me, like, it was over. I'm the worst basketball player, worst person in the whole entire world. But like, how did you have that confidence? Like when you're, because I know you wanted to be on that team.
100%.
When you don't make the team or when you don't play, like what kept your like just confidence in yourself so high? I
don't know. I really don't know. And I think it's something that's buried deep down inside. I mean, maybe it was instilled by my dad. I just, it's a weird part of me that I don't, it's hard to say. It's a double-edged sword where I do care what people think and say about me. At the end of the day, I really don't care. It really doesn't matter to me. And I know a lot of people get caught up on, what other people think and what other people say about me. And sure, you take those in and you feel them. But at the end of the day, man, when I get home, I just don't give a shit. I don't give a shit. Like I joke around. If I, when I go to restaurants, if I can't wear sweatpants to a restaurant, I don't care. I'm not going to go to the restaurant because I just don't care what I look like. I don't care. I mean, I've got confidence, but I'm more into who the person is that I'm either meeting or talking to, or the situation. I want to learn from people. I want to learn how people react to certain situations. I've learned so much from not only myself, but friends in certain situations, how they handle adversities. And I study them, man. I study, I read, I work really, really hard on how to handle certain situations. And it's not something that happens overnight.
How do you like for me, like, I don't think I smiled for like 10 years of my life because my brothers made fun of my teeth all the time. I had a gap in my teeth. And so, yeah. But like for you had this amazing ability to just let stuff just like roll off you and bounce back. Like, because again, like I said, we grew up since like 2 months old. And so, I never recognized your height because you just always,
we're homies. Yeah.
It's because that's all I ever saw.
Yeah.
But I would hear comments from other people, and they direct them right to you. Like, how did you, like, for me, that would have been like, I probably would have disappeared for a while, but you always had that comeback. You always had that way of like moving on from a bouncing, just actually getting stronger from it. Like, I don't get that. It's difficult. It took me to be it still hurts me today. Like, I'm still super sensitive about the stuff that I create. But like, how do you do it?
But let's be honest. I mean, a lot of that stuff's devastating. It's flat. It's brutal. When you hear it, it's brutal. But at the end of the day, man, I mean, it just sounds so silly, and it's not it's not a direct answer to what you're saying, but it's the answer. Again, it sounds so cliched. I'm not trying to be that guy. I know I'm the positive side guy, but I care about people so much. I want people to be successful. I want them to be happy. So when people are upset with me, I really turn to, I take it and hey, it sucks. It hurts. But then I look at what else can I do to make someone laugh? How can I make someone feel better? And then when I do that, man, all my troubles go away. And then I look at other people, growing up with my sister having Down syndrome. Who am I to, take shots? And I can actually, I'm quick-witted enough and I can work my way through it, but a lot of people can't. And I feel extremely blessed. And again, that's what it goes back to the book. I share everything in the book because I can. And I've got this crazy, weird confidence that I know I can get over anything and I can talk about anything because I know I'm a good person. I know I'm good people. And I love seeing the positive in people. And there's so much more good in people than there is bad in people. And, if you focus on the darkness, it's going to be dark all the time. You focus on the light, it's going to be light all the time. So, you get those people that are going to be nasty and terrible to you. If you hold that, I mean, you could be the rest of the day, the rest of the week could be terrible, or you can put it to the side and focus on the good things. And that's really, throughout my whole life, I just focus on the positive side, pun intended.
Plug, shameless plug. Did you know that there's a book out there too?
So good. Yeah. So good.
Can you tell me about like your sister?
Yeah.
What were your thoughts when your mom brings Victoria back from the hospital and she tells you she has Down syndrome? What's going through your head at that point?
It's just uncertainty at that time. She had a bad skin problem too when she was real young. And I remember my mom coming home and crying a lot of times. I remember going and seeing her at the hospital. But again, it's when you ask, like, how do I get through some of these things? I look towards my mom. She was an absolute trooper battling through this and never, we're all human. I mean, we're going to show weaknesses from time to time. And I think that's good. I think that's that we all should do that. We shouldn't hold it all inside of us all the time because it makes you, it stresses you out. It brings, it's just not worth doing it, but you've got to release that stress, and it's okay to cry. And I learned that too, but that's probably where I get a lot of it is from my mom. And when she came home and for us, it was just like, okay, let's go. I don't ever remember saying this sucked. And it was just almost like having a normal baby. We had to babysit from time to time. Excuse me. We couldn't go out anywhere and because it was our turn to babysit. It was my sister. I didn't look at it any different way. And again, maybe that has a lot to do with, the differences that I've had and my brother has. And it was just like, okay, this is her thing. Let's go. And then see my mom just worked her way through it and always showed resilience and was always there. And that makes me powerful. It makes me, what better example when you see your mom doing stuff like that? And how can I bitch? I can't. I literally can't. My life is good. Roof over my head and food on the table. And
How's Victoria today?
Yeah, she's great. She was battling COVID for a little bit there. She was in ICU, and she got out of the hospital and went back to the hospital, and then she's back home now. Now she's just, normal Victoria, back to normal. Thankfully. Got a little scary there, but yeah, she's good. She's real good.
Now, you talked about your mom, and in the book, you go through this where you were actually kicked out of your house by your mom.
Oh yeah, that was great.
Can you explain the story?
Yeah, I thought I was the coolest guy in the world. I thought I was selling weed part-time. I thought I was the coolest guy in the world. It's so silly looking back, like, oh my God, what were you thinking? But I think it was part of that ego. Like I was trying to figure out who I was. And
I do see that. I'm sorry for cutting you, but like you've always been attracted to like some of the shadier people in life. And I think that was a fact of like, this person's absolutely cool, but sorry for cutting you off, but go ahead.
Yeah, no.
Go ahead. I want to hear like details of this event.
It's weird. Some of my things in memory, and I think it was actually taken out of the book. I'll talk about some of that, like the memory loss stuff. Like I don't remember exactly certain
probably
things.
From the weed you sold.
It could have been from the weed I was smoking. Hell, I don't know. But I think like your brain is programmed to protect you. And I remember coming home. I remember walking in the door. I remember walking in the kitchen, and there's this little shoebox with weed and a little bit of money in there. And I'm just like, Mom, come on. Your sister found it. I'm sure she didn't. I never even asked her about it, but it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant at this point. And she just said, you got to go. And I left or something, came back. I'm like, screw this. I'm out. Came back and all my stuff was on the front porch, which, looking back, I mean, what else is she going to do? She got no other choice. And I was just a mess. I didn't really know who I was and trying to identify it. I wasn't the best in school. So, I just always made it through. I had to get the gab. I could talk my way through anything. And eventually that it catches up with you. And, but that just, it's just such an interesting part of my life that, when you look back, I remember like certain events. And that's just one of those events for whatever reason stuck in my head. And it wasn't anything significant. I've never been to jail, knock on wood. I've never done anything really terrible, but that was like I don't know if it was an awakening or a shift. Cause at that point, then I moved in with my dad, and my dad, he really didn't put up with my shit. He would call me out on a lot of stuff. And the biggest thing with my dad, and it was never, you shouldn't do this or you shouldn't do that. It was more like, be a good person. I know you know better. It wasn't about, you're grounded or anything like none of that crap. It was just, you're a better person than that. And I think that's interesting too. And I try to do that with my kids today, is that if they mess up or they get an argument with their brother and their sister, I don't scold them. I just say, hey, come on now. I mean, your brother loves you. Your sister loves you. You guys are best friends. And you play to that part of the person. And I think that builds that up over time, where you end up starting doing just the right thing because it's the right thing. It's that old saying, doing the right thing when no one's looking. That's how you build character of a person. When no one's looking, are you doing the right thing? And I think through those experiences and why that happened, and then moving in with my dad and my dad teaching me that simple thing, just be a good person. And again, it sounds very cliche and it sounds so easy, but when you can just say, hey, be a better person, was that the right thing to do? And then you're honest with yourself. No, that wasn't the right thing. That's not who I am. I am a better person than that. I think that's how you really start really developing a personality of doing the right thing, of just being a good person.
What is it though that like, going through high school and like, early college-ish years, like there was always that like element of like, I want to hang out with that person that's just kind of that, maybe
a little shaky.
Yeah, definitely. Like, what was that? Why was that?
I don't know. I really don't know. I don't. And, hung out with a lot of other people,
don't get me wrong. You hung out with a lot.
Yeah.
I
just,
the majority of people but there just always would be a random dude that you brought in from nowhere.
That's great. I don't know. I don't know if it was me just, seeing, I try and see the good in every single person, no matter who you are. And maybe that had something to do with it. Maybe there was a little thing trying to be, counterbalance to who I was. Maybe if I was this super cool guy, maybe I could get over me being as tall as I was. Maybe I could use that as a crutch. He's super, super cool, or he's a bad guy. They're so stupid, but I bet that's got a lot to do with it. I bet that's just insecurity of who I was, and my ego was getting in the way like it always does. But I'm sure that had something to do with it. I mean,
now, actually, one thing I thought I knew like everything about you.
Yeah.
But in there, you briefly mentioned in the book like a time when you were 12 or 13 when you went through like a sexual assault against you.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, it hurt me like to read that.
It's interesting. Yeah. And I don't like to talk about it too much because it's it's been so long, you know, it doesn't really make a difference. It doesn't identify with who I am. But the reason I put it in the book is obviously I've held this for 30 years, but sure. I put it in the book really for other people. If there's other kids going through that stuff or other adults that have holding this in for their whole life.
I mean, don't necessarily, I don't want to like the details. I'm
not weird. Yeah. No, I'm
like, what happened?
Well, I mean, I went to a friend's house, and you know, I haven't talked to this friend in years and years and years and years and years and years. It was, you know, I think it was a late night or something, and just, you know, he started touching me, and I was just kind of awkward. It was kind of weird, and then things progressed from there. And it wasn't, and again, I say this tongue in cheek, it wasn't like a battery or nothing like that. It was just. But again, there's no way to, and again, I don't like to talk about it too much because there's no way to describe the severity or unseverity, because who's decide what's severe and what's not severe. I don't know that. I don't know if there's an answer for that. And it's not for, and it really, I've worked through that so many ways in my head, up, down, left, right, for 30 years. Right. I mean, it's, to me at this point, it's really, it's the past for me, but I have to put it in the book. And I promise you, it's not, it's for other people. It's not for me.
What are the thoughts going through your head when it's happening? What are the thoughts right after it happens? The next
confusion,
day?
You know, confusion. What's going to happen next? What if someone finds out? You know, there's a lot of fear and doubt with all that. And no one ever found out. No one ever knew. So, I mean, that was there. And then, you know, I go back to this memory thing too. And for whatever, I can't remember a lot of the details weeks after, months after. I don't really remember much. I just remember that, I think might have been 2 experiences. I don't really remember. I kind of remember a second experience, but you know, the first experience you remember for sure. And then, but after that, man, it's almost just like, you know, blocking it out. It's just like it never happened. It's weird. It's really weird. And I think, I don't know why, man. I've cracked my head about a million times trying to figure out, you know, why it happened to me and why what I do wrong, and is it that big of a deal? And there's all these questions that get in your head. But I think I don't really need to come up with answers. All these, I think what I learned is that if I'm trying to answer something like that there is no answer to, all I'm doing is running through this thing over and over in my head. And instead of accepting that there is no answer, it is what it is. It's part of who I am. It's part of my life. And if I can speak upon that and saying, okay, this happened, it's not who I am. It has nothing to do with me. And again, I speak, the reason it's in there is for other people, because I guarantee there's people reading the book or listening to the podcast or that say, you know what, I had something like that, and they can't say anything. Maybe they're still holding it in, and it's maybe affected them tremendously. And if I can help 1, 2, 3, 4 people out around the world work their way through it, man, I mean, isn't that worth it? Isn't that worth me putting in the book? That's the way I look at it. So
no, I mean, like, it's vulnerable. It's like putting yourself
out there. Yeah.
It's like, again, you know, I've always said that like the only way you can make sense of a tragedy is to make good from it. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, if you can make some good from it, that's what it's needed. But you know, it's like, but how do you overcome that mental state after that? Like the week after, or like
it's like it doesn't happen. It's weird, man. It's like,
what would you tell, like, if you could go back in time and tell the young Jeremy Todd, this is what this just happened to you, this is what you should do?
I don't know the answer to that. I don't know. Do I say something to my parents? Do I say something? Can't say anything to friends, right? I mean, that would be totally weird. I mean, do I say something to a teacher or something? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. And I'm sure it's different in every situation. But for me, I think the way I handled it was the way I was supposed to handle it. I'm not going to go back and second guess because, again, it's not going to help. Nothing's going to change. So I don't know what I would say. I would almost just say I would do the exact same thing, because if I go,
what do you suggest that, like, if a kid that happens to today, what would you suggest to them?
I would say, me personally, reach out to someone that's not related to you, because I think what happens is fear gets in the way. And then there's so many programs out there that can help, anonymous phone calls. I'm sure you can, or through the school system or something, you can get help anonymously, because I think the more people you bring in, I think the harder it would be. I really do. And I think there's so many professional, wonderful people out there that are willing to help, that can offer answers, that can offer support. And maybe that person, and as another person talking about it, and then maybe the next step is to talk to a parent or an adult or something. Maybe that's the way. But man, maybe you talk to your parents. I don't know. I don't know the right answer to that. It depends on the relationship with the kid and the severity of it. I think that has to be played in, but at the end of the day, man, there's no right answer. And I don't think there's a wrong answer, really. I think, over time, man, you hear some people that have been sexually assaulted for years and years. I mean, man, I can't imagine anything like that. That would be awful. And I think that's where you start talking to authorities and really get people involved. But every situation is different. I don't know, man. I've played that through my head a million times. I mean, literally a billion times, all the time. I still do from time to time. It's weird. Stuff that'll just pop in my head. And I think to myself, did I handle that right? And then I think to myself, you know what? Hey, I'm in a pretty good spot right now. I got beautiful kids. I have a beautiful family, great friends, great job. My life is pretty good.
How did it feel getting that out? Was it scared putting that in a book? I mean, it doesn't go away. When you put it in a book, I mean, it's out there.
It's out there forever.
We're talking about it right now. It's out there forever now.
It's out there forever. I don't really, I put myself out there so much. I mean, hell, the name of the title is Bullying and Bankruptcy. I mean, my God, what's wrong with this dude, But again, it's weird. And it goes back. I don't care. I don't care if someone's going to, and I'm sure I'm going to get it, but I'm 42 years old now. I don't care if there's going to be whispering and grumbling behind my back or saying stuff. That's fine. Bring it, because it's not going to change who I am. It's not going to change anything. It's not going to change my immediate situation. But the bigger thing is, and again, I can't focus on myself with something like this. I think you get caught up in the weeds. It's more focusing on other people. That's really the most important thing in the book. I don't talk about it very often. It's not a big spot in the book, but it's in the book for a reason, to open a conversation. If someone needs help, they have questions.
Well, I think today, by talking about this, you are starting to take the point of turning a tragedy into making good out of it.
I think so. I think, I joke around and I get emails from people all around the world about the motivation part of it, the inspiration part of it, the tough part, the bankruptcy part, family part. But this is just a whole nother level that, we'll see what happens. I mean, I would love to speak to other people about it. I'd love to speak around the world about it, because again, we go back to who I was when I was younger, and I've got this unique ability to stay positive, stay motivated. And I think whatever gift was given to me by God, the universe, the higher power, whatever the case is, this is what I have to, this is my story, and I need to tell it to more people to change other people's lives. And that's why it's in the book. And that's why the book is so funny, because it's 50 pages long or 60 pages long, but
72,
70, whatever. but really the two most important pages are really when I talk about that, because it's just having the conversation, it's just opening the book and having the conversation with somebody out there that is struggling bad.
There's always been a lot of resiliency to you.
Yeah.
I mean, you could probably say your whole life is just resilient. For the stuff that you've dealt with there. And I mean, and you've had a lot of success because of that resiliency and just because of that boldness and that ability to just step in a room. I mean, you move on, college doesn't work out for you, which it doesn't work out for a lot of people, but you work your way through. And then, so you go to the dealership and you do your natural job, which is a salesperson, and you start making big money there. And I thought it was crazy. You already mentioned when we were talking here, but, I could absolutely never ever do, because I'm like a undersell, overperform type guy. But you go into your boss and say, I will be the best salesman you've ever had. Yeah. Like, why?
Well, I believe it. There's no question in my mind. I think, I don't, and I think there's a great saying that I learned when I worked for Southwestern Consulting, and I still talk about it all day, just still today. It's hard to be nervous when your heart's on service. And I love that quote because all I want to do is help people, and no one's going to do it better than me. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to cheat. I'm not going to bullshit anybody. I'm going to be the best version of myself. I'm going to treat everybody perfect. And that's really what sales is all about. I mean, it's having that confidence that I'm not going to lie to anybody. I mean, I'm just going to, you buy me when I sell something, I'm going to follow through with it 100%. So when I go into an office, or when I did that, I knew there was no one that's going to be better than me. And I still don't think there's anybody better than me, because it's not just, hey, do I know how to close every deal? I don't know all that, but I know people. I know how to help people. I know how to talk to people. And, when you help other people, Jim Rohn always says it best: the more people you help achieve their goals, the faster you're going to achieve yours. And I live my life by that. I want to help everybody out. If I can help everybody out, I'm going to be helped out in the same time. So,
and I know you had because I bought a car from you before. So
yeah,
but I know from talking to you, you never had the mindset of, I'm going to try to put someone in something more expensive. It was always for you. It was, whenever you talked about selling something, it was always, I'm not trying to sell them anything. I'm just trying to put them in the right spot.
Yeah. I don't care. I don't care if you don't buy from me. I don't care. I'm going to treat you right and do the right thing. If it works out, great. If it doesn't, great. It's not going to change. It's not going to change my lifestyle if you buy a car from me or not.
You had all the success, but before I go there, like, how do you have the confidence to put yourself out there like that? Because I know, like, you've told me a long time ago, I'm writing a book, and it's like
3 years. Okay. I think I told you 3 years ago. That's great.
And then you also, I'm putting a podcast together. I'm doing this, and like, and then you put yourself out there. Like, for me, I'm the opposite. I'm like, I'm not going to put myself out there just in case it doesn't work out.
Yeah.
Why?
It's interesting. I love being vulnerable. I think vulnerability is a superpower. I think the more vulnerable you are, the more other people open up. Just today, I put this book out, and I have people that I haven't talked to in forever just sending me random messages. Jeremy, you changed my life. When you get stuff like that, that answers your why. I mean, my why has always been my family and friends. I just want to do the best and take care of them. But really, my why is for everybody. It's everybody out there that's struggling. I don't ever think about myself when I'm vulnerable about that, because I just don't care. I really don't care. It doesn't matter what anybody says about me. So throughout the podcast that I've done, I've told my entire life story, like everything, like how I struggle, how I quit this job, how I made a bad mistake here, what happened in my relationship with the mother of my children. And I put it all out there because it's important. It's important to learn from.
I understand that, but like, you put yourself out there before the fact. That's the thing that always gets me, is that, like, you were not afraid to say, I'm going to do this. And sometimes you fail when you say, I'm going to do this. Like,
absolutely. Yeah.
One of the things is, cheers. You told me a while back that you're quitting drinking.
Yeah. I'm way better. And I knew this was a conversation would go this way. That's why I'm doing this.
But again, like, you fail sometimes when you'll make a bold statement, say, I'm going to do this, and it doesn't work out for you. And again, for a person like me, that's crippling. I didn't succeed at that. But for you, it's just next step in the road.
Yeah. I failed a ton of times, and I know I keep talking about the book, but the book was big, and I laugh and the best sense of humor is when I'm making fun of myself, and I laugh because of how small the book is. But there have been a lot of things that I failed on, and this was something that was so important to me that I didn't care how short it was. I had to accomplish this. I had to accomplish a goal, and the feeling you get when you accomplish something like that, it's life changing. It's now what's next. Now I've done this. I've got the successful podcast. I coach people. I've got a lot of good things going on, but now what's next? But I failed so many times, man. But
does
again,
that ever cause you like extra anxiety though? Because I know in the book you said that you had major anxiety when you were working for the car dealership, even the point where you were like, you had thoughts about crashing your car on purpose. I mean, do you think that anytime that you put all that, you put too much pressure on yourself by saying, I'm going to be the best salesman here, doesn't that put you in a place where that anxiety builds up, where you feel like you have to live up to it?
Yeah, absolutely. But I've compartmentalized a lot of the successes. So if I say, hey, I'm going to be the best car salesman in the world, I'm going to be the best father in the world, I'm going to be the best friend in the world, or the best, best dressed in the world. I may not be the best dressed or the best car salesperson, and I'm going to try hard, and I may fail at those, but I compartmentalize those because they're not as important as being the best father. That I'm going to win at. I'm not going to fail at that. My kids call me, I'm there. It's not a hesitation ever. I never miss a day. I'm always with them whenever I have a chance to be with them. So, but again, the ego a lot of times will make you feel like, oh my God, I'm not the best salesperson in the world, or I didn't hit that number. I'm not hitting that goal. And then I sit back and look at myself. Okay, so maybe I didn't hit this, but am I doing the best job as a dad? Am I doing the best job as a friend? And when you can celebrate the wins on something like that, that's actually real life and real important. I'll take that win, and I'll take a second place on a best sales or missing a goal. Because
what put you at so much stress? What put you at so much stress that got you to the point that you felt the anxiety that you are actually talking to a dealership friend of yours, where you two are making out plans of where exactly you're going to crash your car just so you can get a week off?
Yeah, it's great, but it's the overcommitment. It's the fear of letting someone down more importantly than anything. I don't want to let anybody down. And the more and more, and that's one lesson I've learned is the power of saying no. I used to say yes to everybody and yes to everything. I'll do this, I'll do that. And when the more and more you commit, the less and less, imagine if you had one big yes or a bunch of tiny little bitty yeses, the little yeses get watered down. And I've learned to say no to a lot more, and then really focus in on the more important things in my life. When you say yes to everybody, you burn yourself out, anxiety levels through the roof, stress, depression, drug and alcohol abuse, all that comes in because you just want to be successful at no cost. You can't let anybody down.
What was it about the dealership that caused so much stress on you?
It was the hours. It was crazy hours. It was non-committal. Hey, let's go out to dinner at 7:00. I'm in. And then you're stuck at work till 8:00. It was like, you're always letting somebody down. And when I don't mind, and it's overcommitting. And again, no disrespect to people that own dealerships. My name's not on the building. If I leave that job, someone else is going to fill that spot. And I understand that now. I didn't understand that before. I figured I have to have that. This is my job. This is what I'm doing. And I would cancel on all my friends and all my family members constantly. I miss stuff. You missed baseball games. You missed weddings. You missed everything. And at some point, I was so stressed out because I missed everything. And I just decided I'm not going to miss anything ever again. There's no chance. I don't care anymore. Hey, I want to be the best person I can. If I can, I will. But I'm not missing anything anymore. My friend calls and says, hey, we're doing this, wedding, funeral, anything. I'm there 100%. I don't even ask anymore. I just do it.
So you're doing well at the dealership. You get to the point where you're, pretty much raking in money, but like you said, you're working crazy hours to do so.
Mm-hmm.
I think you told me at one point in your life, you were really the only time you saw your son was to walk him to school.
Mm-hmm. I'd wake him up and go to bed, and I didn't see him when he was sleeping. Yeah. It was horrible. And that's no way to live life, man. I miss so much. But now, hey, again, that's what got me to the point that I'm at now. And it was a season of life. There's different types of season. There's whether the harvest season, there's a planting season, there's a growing season. And really that was a more of a harvest season or planting season, because I was making good money and financially setting myself up. And now I'm in a different season of life now. I'm in the harvest season. I want to be able to spend time with my family, spend time with my kids. And that was just a season of life. And I learned a lot, but I learned a lot of what I won't do. But
one season that probably kind of led to you thinking that you had to make all that money was a time in your life when you had no money. For a while you left Fort Wayne and moved to the big city.
Chi-town.
Indiana boy moving to the big city. How'd it go for you in the big
Chi-town.
city?
Chi-town was a disaster. It was a lot of fun, but man, oh man. You know what? I learned a lot. I learned a lot about being evicted, having zero money, having to rely on somebody else to pay for our groceries, having to call my grandmother to help me move because I had no money. I mean, man, there were some tough times, not having gas, not having any food, really, no electricity. It's funny. I was talking to Brandy the other day, and she called me, and
Brandy's his wife.
Yeah, she called me and said that the water was out. And the first instinct for her and me is, and she called me and said, I know I paid that bill. I know I paid that bill 100%. I'm checking my account, see if the bill actually went through. And of course it went through. Of course it did. But that's what's set up in her head. Like there's a water main break or something. but our mentality is just instantly built to, holy shit, it's on. Like what?
It was worst case scenario.
Yeah, right? Because that's what happened. I mean, I've had them shut off before. I mean, I've been in the shower, taking a shower in the shower, the water gets shut off. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. But again, it's just made me that much smarter now that.
But I did like one of the experiences you talk about in the book is when you come back to Fort Wayne because Chicago doesn't work out and you feel like you weren't just broke, but you're too broke to stay there any longer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you think that's broke? I'm super broke.
So you come back to Fort Wayne and you had a house in Fort Wayne.
Yeah.
But you come back and you had to make a decision between the heat and the power. And this is Indiana wintertime, which state of Indiana and United States of America for all you people from different countries. It can be negative degrees temperatures. I mean, it gets really, really cold. And so I actually remember one night that we were out in the bars and we go back, you're like, oh, we could just stay at my house. So we go to your house and there is absolutely no heat there.
Yeah.
It was so cold. You had this one little space heater
in
the middle of the floor. And so I remember at one point in the night, I'm lying on the hard floor. I got the half that of me that's towards the space heater is warm. The half on the other side is freezing. So I took the cushions off the couch because the couch was too far away from the heater. And I'm laying on the ground using the cushions to cover me up.
That's crazy.
And I just remember how angry I got at one point.
Oh, I remember.
Like it was like a pure, like I can't imagine someone being on the streets all the time because it was a pure anger out of like this necessity in life of heat. And I was just like, I remember just like getting up and yelling at you. Like, I'm too cold.
I remember
just walking out. And Indiana has no taxis anywhere at that point. There was no such thing as an Uber back then. Yeah. And so I'm just out trying to find a taxi in the middle of Indiana, like Fort Wayne, Indiana, where there's no taxis around. And I don't know how I got home that night, but I'd rather be outside in the cold than in your house in the cold. It was bad.
It was terrible, man. And you know, I look back and you laugh at it now, but man, you talk about building character, bro. You know, being that broke, and filed bankruptcy that I think probably that next month, or maybe I was in bankruptcy at that time. I don't remember the exact timeline, but it was bad, man. I was broke as a joke. So when people say they're broke, man, I get it. I get it. I understand being broke. I understand penny pinch. I get all that.
You said one of the worst thing than not having heat was like when your name was in the paper.
Yeah, because my dad reads the paper every day. He still reads the paper every day, and he reads all the obituaries. Like, no disrespect to old people, like all old people do. They read the obituaries and the bankruptcy. Oh yeah, I saw so and so had a bankruptcy or divorces. I'm like, man, I knew that was going to happen, and that was embarrassing for sure. But you know, who's it embarrassing to? You know, just me and my family. I look back. I mean, no one remembers that stuff. If I didn't put that on the cover of the doggone book, probably no one even realized that. But it's something that just plays in my head over and over, and it plays to the part that you know, I've struggled, and things are good now, man. I've been through it. I love that quote too, and I don't know who ever said it originally, but it's it might have been like Steve Harvey, but he was like, name something that you haven't got yourself through. Name it. Your whole life. I've gotten through it all.
Well, the phrase is everything is figure outable.
Everything's figure outable, and everything's been figure outable, and I've figured it all out. And that's why I talk about it, and that's why I have the book. That's why I have the podcast. So no matter what you're going through, you know, you're either going into a tragedy, you're in the middle of one, or you're coming out of one. And that's real. I mean, there's a lot of people out there struggling now. And that's why this book, again, is so timely, is because I share all that stuff and how bad it was for me, and understand that things are going to get better. I mean, with COVID and people losing their jobs, and it's tough out there right now. And I think it was just important to get this message out right now, going into the new year, to start coming up with new plans and understand that cheap plug, but the positive side is coming to the negative side. So
are you, that's cool. I like that phrase. Like you're taking the positive side and facing the negative side.
That's right.
Right on.
I got all these cheesy lines, bro.
No, not cheesy, but they stick in people's heads, you know, and then these are the type of things that people can rally around. And actually, like, you know, for the people that I coach at the business I work for, I actually tell some people, come up with a motto, you know, something a phrase that you can repeat over and over, but by the time that when you walk into a store, people are already saying that phrase because it matters to them.
It does matter.
Now, you said everything is figure outable.
Yeah.
Are you comfortable, or more importantly, is she comfortable with us talking about Brandy?
You know, there's not really. I mean, I don't want to talk about her too much. I talk about her in the book that.
And Brandy is his ex-wife. for those who don't
Yeah.
know.
And she's still my best friend. I still talk to her on damn near on a daily basis. One of the things that her and I both decided on when we're going, and this is another part that's important because I think it's important to share these stories that, a lot of people get divorced for. Everyone was divorced rate like 55% or 60%, something crazy, right? But every person I know that goes through divorce is like, F that bitch, or F that asshole. And it doesn't have to be
I like how
like
you
that.
moved out the one word, but you said the other two too.
Yeah, they're okay. They're a lot less. But you know what I'm saying. I mean, every story you hear is horrible. It's like the end of the world, and you've got to apply by this rule, and this is what's supposed to be said, and you're supposed to do this. I don't believe any of that stuff. I think it's all BS. I mean, I am the luckiest person in the world to have her in my life to care for my 3 beautiful children. How would I ever disrespect someone like that? I don't. I get it from family members. I get it from random friends. I get it from random people. And I stop them in the tracks.
When I found out you were getting a divorce, I actually found out through your podcast, which thanks a lot for not calling me ahead of time. But anyways.
Yeah, well, again, that's one of those, that's why I put that in the book. It's one of those things.
I was actually listening to your podcast and I found out, like, I pretty much texted or called you right away. I can't remember. I was on the road somewhere. And you know what, even that day, which it was pretty fresh at that time, you weren't saying anything negative.
No, I never have, and I never will. She means too much to me. She literally is my whole life. She's giving me 3 kids. I mean, that's why it blows me away when people go through these horrible divorces. And man, where did that go? I mean, how does it get to that point? And I think a lot of it gets played through attorneys where you're supposed to you start fighting and you're supposed to get this and getting that, and then it doesn't have to be that way. And that's why I think it's so important to talk about it, because I just see so many horrible things with that. And man, I would never wish anything bad upon her ever in a million billion years. I love her to death.
What are you doing today that helps you have that strong relationship with her today?
It's again, checking the ego at the door. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. She'll get upset with me and I get upset with her. When she's upset with me, I just say, yeah, and I swallow my ego instead of trying to respond back. One of the things that I've learned over the last 3, 4, 5 years is become a better listener. I was so ready to answer her argument. And what happens is you don't even listen. You're not even hearing a word she says. You want to plan your response. And this goes for anything in life, whether it be business or any kind of relationship. I've become a better listener. And usually my first response when I'm upset is the wrong response. True. I would rather just listen to it and say, you know what? Maybe you are right. Maybe I'm not doing this very well.
That's hard to do.
It is hard to do. It's very hard to do. And it's taken me a long time to get to that point that I don't respond. She's upset. She probably has a reason to be upset. And for me saying something, what does that do? That just throws gasoline on the fire. Then it's an argument. It's a big fight. And I don't like to fight. I don't like to argue, but I listen. And then what happens typically is I'll accept it if I am doing something wrong. If there's something that I'm falling short in, I accept that. And I'll call and tell her, you know what, you were right. And I apologize. I completely misunderstood, or I messed that up, and I'm sorry. Well, what's wrong with doing that? I mean, that's so easy to do, but again, we want to fight over it. Or at the same time, if I'm right, and I think, well, quote unquote, right, if I think I'm right, it's the same conversation. Hey, I just want to talk to you one more time about that conversation we had. This is why I said what I said. I meant no disrespect. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry if it offended you and I didn't mean it to hurt you. How do you start an argument with that conversation? It's impossible. It's impossible. But again, we want to call and say, you know what, screw you. You're wrong. I'm right. And 9 times out of 10, we're not right.
Now, one thing that really resonated with me in the book is that you said most of the time people think you need somebody during the tough times. But a lot of times the hardest time when you really need somebody is during your wins.
Yeah.
I know for me, like, one of the things that for people who know me, I didn't get married till later in life and all that. And like, really didn't take anything like a relationship or anything like that seriously. I was known as a bad caller backer or no collar backer.
Yeah,
if I was dating at all, but for me there, I had a big event once where I accomplished something big. And then like that night I was just ready to celebrate and there was no one there.
Yeah.
No one there to celebrate with. And I'm thankful to God, like no other, like now that I have someone who not only have someone to celebrate, but she celebrates me before, like even when I don't.
Totally.
How hard is it? Like when you go home and you have a big win and there's no one to share it with?
It's difficult. For example, like with these books that I got the books delivered at the house the other day and no one's there. So I got 2 boxes. So I saved 1 box, 1 box to open with the kids, you know what I'm saying? So I know the reality of what's going on in my situation. But what I'm also blessed is I've surrounded myself with extremely positive, motivational friends. It's not the same for sure. But at the same time, it's reality. It won't be like this forever. Another season of life. Who knows what's going to be like, a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years from now, who knows? But it's difficult, but you just got to plan them a little bit different. Like the box of books. I mean, I'm going to say, so when the kids come home, hey, let's open this box of books to see their expression. And they're probably like, Dad, whatever. But yeah, great dad.
Actually, my kids were impressed.
Oh, that's cool.
Because I'm, I was like one of the first to have the book.
Yeah.
I don't have it signed yet though.
Oh yeah. We'll get it signed tonight.
I might be the first person to read it besides an editor. I don't know.
Well, you might be
close.
You're going to be close for sure.
But like when I had this book at home, my kids know you. And so they saw your face in there and they're like, he's an author. I was great? Like, yes, he is.
It's so weird.
Yes, he is. No, it was really cool. So I should have just saved that. So I guarantee your kids are gonna.
My daughter talked about it. Yeah. She said, something. One of her friends' parents saw me online somewhere or saw a video of me in probably one of the interviews that I did, and that's kind of cool. But hey, I just try and set an example for my kids that, and I talk about this on the podcast a lot, that everything I'm doing is obviously to help a lot of other people. But if I walk out of here tonight and get hit by a bus, my kids, my grandkids, my grandkids' kids can go back, read that book, listen to the podcast, see the videos. Like this is the person my dad was, and I think that's pretty powerful. I do that. And then, I do the other stuff, little weird stuff. I'll send the pictures of all of me and the kids to their separate emails. I set up emails for all 3 kids and I send that stuff to them too. And I'm just trying to set this groundwork that, eventually we're all going to die.
And that is a significant thing.
It's cool, man.
I have a big fear of like, I'm going to lose my thoughts someday. Like the fact that you're going to have them to go back to, forever. You've blazed the trail for me in a lot of ways. And, but this is something that I really want to be able to do some point too. But like, I have that fear of failing or no one listening, but when you put it that way, it doesn't matter if no one listens.
I don't care.
Again, something for your grandkids someday to listen to your thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty fantastic.
It's pretty cool. I mean, a lot of times in the episodes, I'll say specifically when you're listening to this and I'm 30 years from now when I'm dead, hey, me, listen to this episode or share this with your son or daughter. It's kind of cool. But that's really the way the podcast and the books, of video and audio diary of my life, the ups and downs, and to see the things that I've overcome. And, when my time has come, they'll have a chance to go back and listen. I'm not stopping it. I've been doing it for 4 years. It'll be 4 years in February. I've done the podcast. So, I'm not planning on stopping. I have no intention. I love doing it. It's my favorite thing in the world to do is to sit down and do a podcast. And, it's the best thing ever, man. I love it. I'm not going to stop for a long, long time.
So, we talked about a lot of, you talk about other things in the book too, like some alcohol, some depression and things like that. But I actually want to get to now, like the title, the basic theme that you provide everybody, getting unstuck in life.
Yeah.
So you reach a period in life where you just decide, I'm unstuck. I'm the Teflon guy. Nothing.
Yeah.
I'm not attached to what life has already put for
me
and what people have put on me there. Then all of a sudden, like I want to go to page 48 in the book.
I love page 48. This is so cool, man. I appreciate you doing this. This is so cool.
Do you actually know?
I have no idea. I have no clue.
Good. Okay. No, this is funny. Okay. I call it the George Costanza moment. Okay. You say, the only thing that helped me get unstuck was to do the opposite of what I had been doing up until that point.
Yeah.
I call it the George Costanza moment because I don't know.
Oh yeah. Oh, I remember that one.
Like George starts having sex. I'm doing just the opposite of
yeah.
whatever I got.
Yeah. You got the girlfriend and
yeah. So okay, what is the opposite of what you're doing?
Well, it was just the opposite of what society tells me to do. It's the opposite of you need to go to your 9 to 5. You need to not get out of your comfort zone. You need to not do the podcast. You need to have the perfect yard and have the perfect family and stay here forever. When I flipped that switch and said, you know what, I'm not going to do anything that anybody tells me to do. And one thing that I learned a long time ago, and this was something that sticks to me, and God loved my dad, and I'm not trying to throw shots at my dad. My dad would always tell me, well, wait till you have this. Wait till you have kids. Wait till you have this and that. And I've waited, and none of that stuff's really come true for me because I've done the opposite. I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to wait until this. I'm going to go out and I'm going to move. I'm going to travel. I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to do all these crazy ass things that people think I'm nuts for doing, but I'm going to be authentic. I'm going to, you shouldn't share that stuff. I'm going to share it. I don't care because it's so freeing to do whatever the hell I want to do. I get people tell me what to do every single day. And I'm just like, if I don't want to do it, I just don't do it. I'm never, and again, no intention is going to be bad. I'm not going to be disrespectful. I'm not going to call anybody out, but if I don't want to do it, I'm just not going to do it.
Can I tell you something about like when you said that not going to do everything just because people say that's how you're supposed to be doing it. Making 6 figures. So you say, oh, life's great. I'm making 6 figures in Indiana or Fort Wayne, Indiana, which is like making $1 million somewhere else. Okay. So then you decide, oh, I'm doing so great. I'm moving to Asheville, North Carolina.
I quit. Yeah.
And then like after about a year or two, hey, Asheville, it's a great place. Cool. Love it. It's a beautiful country. I'm moving to California.
Yeah, it was great.
Across. We're going East Coast to West Coast.
Yeah.
And then it's all right. California, it's cool. Great sunsets. They got some wildflowers there. I'm going back to North Carolina.
Yeah. And now I'm back here.
I mean, not gonna lie, like even like me, like who's been a big supporter of you like your whole life. Like, there was some head scratching.
I'm thinking about moving again. I really am. I'm actually flying out to, I'm doing a West Coast swing in February.
Yeah.
I'm flying from here to Vegas. I
think, Brandy once called you a second generation gypsy.
I am.
Because for moving
I just love it. And you know what? I've been so blessed to meet people across the country that have turned into some of my best friends that I would never, ever met ever. I mean, the list, my phone is filled with people with different zip codes. And I've met so many brilliant, unbelievable, smart, funny people that they've changed my life. And if I didn't move, I would never met any of these people. If I never got out of my comfort zone, I may have never even started the podcast. I would have never written a book. I would have never had the Facebook page or the YouTube channel. I would never done any of that stuff ever in a million years. But when you start getting out of your comfort zone, it starts getting easier and easier and easier. And then, you just get this weird confidence that, you know what, I can figure it out. If everything's figure outable, I can move here, I can move there. So like, I'm literally thinking about moving to the West Coast, or like either Arizona, New Mexico, maybe. But I'm flying out there in February to check it out. What's that?
You couldn't do it. Your kids mean too much to you.
Oh, no, they're going with me. Oh, absolutely. Heck yeah. Oh, there's no question.
Taking Brandy too?
Oh, everyone's going. We're all going. I'm going to take this show on the road. Like I said, I've been blessed with the opportunities that I have within the automotive industry, that I'm good at what I do. And I can get a job pretty much anywhere. And then, long term, hey, who knows, next 2, 3, 4 years, I may not need to be in the automotive industry anymore. I'll continue to do helping out people, coaching and speaking. And maybe I might not have to do that. And I can go anywhere in the world I want to at that point. But right now, I've got obligations where I need to continue to fund the positive side and take care of the family. But we like to travel. We love it. We love going out to the deserts and hiking, and man, it just sounds so much fun, bro. I love it. I mean, but hey, it may not happen. I may not move. I've got the best job in the universe right here in town. Great support group.
Hiking's fun until you get attacked by a whole bunch of bees.
Bees, oh yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Where was that in?
That was California, yeah. Best story ever. Climbing the mountain with the kids melting down. And Dad, look at that big beehive. I'm like, yeah, it's no big deal. And I'm FaceTiming my dad. It was great. I'm like, yeah, Dad, we're climbing this mountain. I'm like, hold on to a root, climbing up the side of this mountain. And all of a sudden I hear one of my kids, I think it was Anthony was in front of me. I think it was Mia. Dad, I got stung by a bee. I'm like, what? I got stung by another one. And then all of a sudden the bees are coming out and they're swarming the kids. And I'm throwing them up the mountain. It was great. I'm not airlifting you guys off this mountain. We got to keep going. It was great.
go down on the other side though.
Oh, it was so much fun, man. But those are the stories that, who else has that story? You climbing a mountain in the Sierra Nevada mountains and get attacked by bees. I mean,
can you tell me though,
so cool.
like, okay, so talking about California, I'd like you to contrast right now. You talk about a point in the book when you're depressed and it felt like, you're walking down a dark street where it's pouring down rain and you got the guy with the newspaper just staring you down like there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
But I want you to contrast that to like 30 straight days of just watching the sunset in California.
Well, that was a complete game changer. And, I could have a brutal day, a tough day. And I've thought about this a lot. It was a matter of just sitting still and being within my own thoughts. Sometimes being within your own thoughts is good, bad. It could be anything. But I say it all the time. I think when we look for answers about life or decisions to be made, I truly believe we have all the answers within ourselves, but we get pulled in so many different directions, whether it's watching Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, and everyone's giving us what we should do. And people are telling you should do this. And we cloud ourselves with so many ideas that aren't right for us when we already have all the answers within ourselves. So when I'm watching a sunset for 30 straight days, my life became so clear. I mean, it was just because I had 20, 30, 45 minutes every night staring at beautiful colors and just being present within my own head and allowing my mind to slow down. That was so powerful. And then I started thinking to myself, well, hey, if I take this time every day, not looking at the sunset, but if I give myself 30 days of just quiet, or 30 minutes of just quiet every day, what can that do for my lifestyle? And it's completely, I do it every day. I mean, this morning was a little bit different. I rode to work. I didn't have a lot of time this morning getting up, but I rode to work with no radio, no podcast on, just dead silent in the car, just gaining my thoughts for the rest of the day. And it makes a huge difference. There's just so many things that pull us in so many different directions that we don't give ourselves a chance to be great. And I think that's what happened with the sunset. It just allowed me to identify that we already have all the answers. We just got to give ourselves a chance.
How hard is it to be the positive side guy?
Yeah, it's pretty easy. People make fun of me every once in a while. Oh, you're the positive side guy. And I'm like, well, no, I've just seen the positive side of that situation. I get it. I don't. I'm very aware of the situation that I'm in. I'm very aware of being grateful, and I have a tremendous amount of gratitude for being struggling as much as I've had in my past. That it's really not that hard, and I love it, and I really do, and that's who I am. We talk about like identifying with who you truly are, being known as the positive side guy, and me putting these quotes on all the time. I know there's people out there that are making fun of me nonstop. I just don't give a shit because this is who I am, and I'm comfortable with who I am. And the more and more I put myself out there, the more and more comfortable I become. So it's just who I am, man. I mean, the old saying, the two most important days in your life are the day you're born and the day you find out why. And when I found out why was really when I started the podcast and started on this journey with becoming just a better person all around, smarter, more caring, more passionate, more grateful. And when you start tying all these things into your personality, you just become a better person. And then life becomes better. It's just like you see more sunny days than you do dark days. Nothing really gets me down. It really doesn't.
It's kind of like you live it in order to eventually feel normal at it.
I do. That's my normal. I don't have any other normalities in my life. When things go really, really bad, I'm the guy that doesn't really get upset. If there's a death in the family, I'm that guy. Like, we can turn towards me. I see the grand scheme. I see the big picture of things. And yeah, it sucks when bad things happen, but I see the big picture. What's that?
You see the sunset.
I see the sunset and the sunrise. I see them both. I see the good that's going to happen from the bad situation. I just always see the positive side. I mean, again, no pun intended. That's part of the name of it, is I always see that side.
Well, thank you for this interview today. Now, as we end every interview on the positive side with Jeremy, Todd Roberts,
Right.
We end up with John Maxwell's questions from his book, Great Leaders Ask Great Questions.
It's a great book.
Exactly. haven't read it yet, but I'm sure it's good.
It's a great book. You should read it.
Let me ask you some questions here. What is your greatest life lesson?
What is the greatest lesson I've ever learned? Great question. The greatest lesson I've ever learned, you know, and I replay these questions in my head over and over and over. Because every time I interview somebody, I go through these questions, and it changes all the time. Right now, the greatest lesson I have ever learned is really have peace within myself. I am more peaceful now than I've ever been in my entire life. Peace is so powerful. I just, I don't have a mind that is stressed out. I don't have a mind that is worried about what other people think. The greatest lesson I've ever learned is have a peaceful mind, because it makes life so clear. It makes difficult decisions easy. It makes difficult situations easier. I am at peace now than I've ever been. And part of putting that stuff in the book is I think there's nothing else on my mind or on my past that I haven't shared with somebody. And now that everything is out from me, everything is shared. There's nothing. It's just I've had this peace around me that I've never felt it before, and it's great. I love it.
What are you learning now?
What I'm learning now, really nothing to do with life. Is really social media stuff. I've really focused in on how can I make the biggest impact on the most people possible. I've identified myself now. I've started talking. I want to be a coach of some sort, but the word coach is tossed around so often. Sales coach, leadership coach, health coach, mind coach. I mean, you name it, coach. But I think what I've really dialed in now is that I'm really focusing on being a mindset coach, because that's really the most powerful thing that I'm really, really good at. And when you get your mindset right, you can take on the world. You can become a better salesperson, become a better person, a better parent, better husband, better wife. So becoming a mindset coach, and I haven't talked to anybody about this yet, but that's really where the next business is going to be. That's what I'm learning now, is how to create my social media, the books, my speaking and coaching all into one thing. And it's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun. I love it.
Who do you know that I should know?
Who do you know that I should know? There's names flying in my head. My buddy, Donnie Tuttle pops in my head. Donnie Tuttle is amazing. Changed my life. I love that dude. Brandon Hanley. He's become the voice of a generation. He's got a podcast called Spiritual Dope. I love that dude. These are the guys that I can call at 7 a.m. and say, hey, this is an idea I've thought about coaching, or this is a thought about a podcast that I have. And they've such great insight. My friend Tej, I love Tej. She's a powerful woman, and she's down in Florida. I love her to death. My friend Jamie, I love Jamie. There's just so many people. You and I know a lot of people, so I'm trying to think of people that you don't know. But those guys stick out for sure. They're probably, my older brother. My older brother's great. Brother Mike is great. I love that dude. All my family and all my friends. So it's just those people outside, and I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody. But yeah, Donnie Tuttle for sure. Brandon Hanley for sure. I love that dude. Elise Archer is amazing. I love her. But again, I've been so blessed, bro. Traveling and meeting these people from around the country.
And you are one of the greatest people I know at meeting people. You can meet someone anywhere, anyhow, anywhere.
Yeah, I appreciate that, because I work hard at it. I go out and I ask them tough questions. Instead of saying, hey, what do you do for a living? I'm like, hey, what's your biggest struggle? They're like, what? What have you read that I should read? That's part of the questions.
That is part of the questions. In fact, it is right now. What have you read that I should read?
Big shout out to my friend Melanie Holscher. She was on the podcast just a couple of days ago. She wrote a book called Overeat Jones. So powerful. Talk about her a fight with ovarian cancer. It was amazing. I'm getting ready to start my book, my buddy's book by Danny Bader. He wrote a book called I Just Got It at Home Today. It's having a Miller Lite with God or with Jesus or something like that. So I'm excited about that book. The Alchemist. I'm sure you read The Alchemist. You read The Alchemist, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's probably my favorite book of all time. I read recently. I read Michelle Obama's book. You read that one yet?
Not.
I mean, that book is just brilliantly written. I'm a huge fan of hers. Blown away with that book. That was awesome. I read Empire of the Summer Moon. I think I told you about that book. You gotta read that book. That's about the Comanche Indians. And man, dude, that book blew me away. And I read First Conspiracy about George Washington. That was a great book.
I'll tell you a book you need to read.
All right. That looks like a great book.
The Positive Side by Jeremy Todd.
That looks like a great book. I've read that book a couple times.
You know, and everybody should read that. But like, I do think that at some point, I think you need to put it away for, you know, maybe a few months, but then just go back to it. Because I know I've never been brave enough to write a book, but I've written thoughts and stuff before. Yeah. Then I go back like 6 months and like reread some. I'm like, holy crap, I wrote that. So
it's weird. Yeah, it's weird. You know, and you know, when I first wrote the whole book, I wrote it all the way out and didn't read any of it. I didn't go back and reread anything. I just typed and just wrote it all out. And my book coach helped me out. He helped me place things around, help me move stuff around. So the first time I read it was the first editing opportunity. So you send it to the editor and you get back from the editor and you read it. And I read it. I'm just like, this book sucks. I'm like, this is so terrible. I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing here? I'm telling all these people to get this book. I'm writing a book and it's awful. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so terrible. So we edited it and sent back to the editor, and the editor did a great job. And we kind of broke it down, took some things out and moved some stuff around. And then the last time I read it, I've read it 2 more times since then. And the last time I read it, I think, you know, I felt a little bit more proud about the book. There was a lot of things in there that, didn't flow correctly. It's not easy writing a book. It's not easy at all. It's very difficult. It's a long process, but at the end of the day, man, it's done. It's over with. It's an accomplishment. It's checking that shit off the vision board. And then now what's next? You know, the next thing I want to do is I want to do a TED conference. I would love to do a TED talk. I mean, that would be so amazing. That's big for me. That's probably the biggest thing I want to do in 2021 is speak on stage at a TED talk. I think that would be so dope. I don't even know what the hell I'm going to talk about.
Talk about
I can talk about that. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in there.
You just wrote a book about it. I think that's what you should talk
I can definitely talk about that stuff in there. So that's
no, I know what you're talking about though. Like speaking in front of people is different, and you can't just read a book in front of people.
Yeah, you know, and
it's delivery different. It's taking
it is all that. And I'm blessed. I got the gift of gab, and I've spoken in front of people before. But man, a TED talk is just one more thing that I want to get on my resume. My life resume. I think that would be dope as hell.
What have you done that I should do?
Biggest thing for me, my friend, biggest trip that I've ever done in my life was I went to Ireland, but I did it by myself. That was a game changer for me. That changed my life without having any reservations, no plans, nothing. I had a flight to Dublin and a rental car. And nothing else. I know where I was going. I'll never forget getting off the plane and walking to the rental car place. And you know you're in Ireland. They got the strong accents right away. They're like, "Hey, this is your car. It's some Kia or something. Stick shift, wrong side of the car." And I get in the car at 7 a.m. and I'm tired as hell. And I'm like, "Oh shit! Now where do I go?" Because I had nothing. I had no plans. Zero. I didn't know where I was. I didn't know where I was going. And I just left. I just started driving. I'm like, where I see a sign to Dublin. I'm like, I'm gonna go to Dublin now. And I just drove around Dublin, almost got in a couple of car accidents because I'm on the wrong side of the road, the wrong side of the car, on a stick shift car. I was so lost. And then I got to a little grocery store / cafe. And I just sat there and just kind of let things play through my head by myself. Don't know a soul. I'm like, this is so surreal. Like being in a different country by myself. I don't know anybody. Now what? So then I left there and went to the Guinness factory. That was so cool by myself, and met a couple people there, and then just traveled Airbnbs and met people and no plans. It was wild, man. I mean, it was just a different experience and allowed me to process things differently in my own head that I know if I could do that by myself, I can do anything by myself now, that I can go anywhere and do anything.
That sounds pretty fantastic too. But I think the thing that I want to do that you have done that I haven't is write a book. I mean, it's for you to be that bold and that brave. And I'm not trying to pump you up and build your ego up here and like just sell you on that because it's your podcast here. But it's the fact that you actually did it.
It's huge, bro.
Is impressive.
I appreciate you saying it because I sometimes sugarcoat it and I joke and make fun of myself because of how short it is. But it's really, I haven't owned it yet. I haven't owned, it's like, am I worthy enough? You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's so weird. There's other things that play through my head that, and do I call myself an author? I don't know. I mean, do I need to call myself an author? I don't know. I mean, I haven't accepted. I don't even know what it means right now. I don't get it yet. It's so new, and I'm just like playing it through. Tomorrow's a new day. What happens tomorrow? I mean, when people start reading the book, you know, when you asked earlier about like what goes through my mind when you write a book like this and you share those things, like what happens when my kids read it? You know, that's weird.
It's true.
What happens when my mom reads it? My dad reads it. What happens when you read it, so you know, I mean, you know, it's in there, but you know, but again, like even for you, I mean, you read it. Obviously, you're not going to change nothing's going to change between us. You know, it's just not that you know a little bit more. It's just, but it's not going to change anything. I mean, it's just weird, man. It's just. And then if I reference that back with being, you know, traveling alone, it's like I'm alone on this random journey with this as well. And if I didn't position myself to do that with the trip to Ireland, could I position myself with this? I don't know. It's weird, dude. And I don't know how to process my mind through it yet. I don't know what to call myself. I don't know what the impact of it is. Maybe it's no impact. Maybe it just goes away, and I'm okay with that too. Maybe it blows up. Maybe it's a New York Times bestseller. You know, you just don't know. I mean, I can't imagine being that, but you just never know, man. But it's something that's just it's an accomplishment that's checked out the list. So when I'm dead and gone, you read my obituary. Does it say author? I mean, it would say podcast host, I would assume. I don't want it to say car guy. I don't want to say car salesman. That's not who I am. And I think that goes along with a lot of people in society when they start identifying yourself as your occupation. I'm a construction guy. I'm a car guy. I'm an attorney. I'm a doctor. That's not who you are. You're a good parent. You're a good friend. You're a good family member. That's who you truly are. So I don't, you know, so if maybe I'm a podcast host, I like that. I can kind of own that because it's a little bit different. But I just identify with me being the best version of myself every single day. I'm working hard to be the best example for my kids. And if that helps, the podcast helps, and we all win.
How can I add value to you?
You know, then obviously I knew you were going to ask that question. I don't know. And I ask my guests all this all the time. And I get a lot of times the answer, well, you already did that. Well, this helps because it's interesting to, I wonder, you know, you always wonder how many people are going to watch this. You know, it's weird. You know, I guess two things. Number one, you can help me somehow figure out a TED Talk speech and help me figure that out. I don't know. I just need something laid out and I can talk. I can do that. And I think this book makes it a little bit easier to come up with something to talk about. That's extremely important to me. And then the second thing is just to share the book. Have other people buy the book. Because, you know, maybe this doesn't tell your story, you know, about what, and I hope it wouldn't. And maybe you give that to, you know, some guy you work with and they read it and they give it to someone else. But maybe eventually down that road, it hits somebody. And it would never got to that point if people don't share the book, you know? So I just want people to share the book. It's cheap. It's $10. But eventually it's going to hit somebody that needed it really, really bad. And it could potentially save their life. And that's what's powerful about the book is if you can share the book, that's all you got to do. Share the
book. So there's actually one question left, and the question I asked them out of order, so you're probably all jacked up right now. But the question is, how has failure shaped your life? But I'm not going to let you answer because it's already in the book. And I suggest that all people go out there and get the book today. And I just want to say I'm a longtime friend, but also a longtime listener of this podcast.
Yeah, you are.
I can't say
you didn't have a choice
because you have a million of them. So, but I want to say that, like, I do think that interviewing is like a great skill that you have. And I've loved listening to your interviews, the Ben Gleason one, because I know Ben is extremely fun the other day, but this has been my favorite interview so far,
bro.
And I loved listening to you talk and loved listening to you
I appreciate it, brother.
Just go through this stuff. And, you know, it's amazing that when you know someone for 42 years, you can learn more from them.
Yeah, man.
And it just makes me wonder how many people out there that you have had friends with forever that you could just ask that different question, maybe ask some of these leadership questions, maybe ask any question, but just there's more to even if you've been around someone for 42 years, there's more to learn about them. So I appreciate that.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
Other than that, pick up the book, The Positive Side.
Absolutely.
You can order it through jeremytodd.com.
There you go.
Find it on Amazon, I believe.
And, it's on Amazon.
But other than that, this has been a great day for me. I'm so excited for my friend. I'm so excited for Jeremy Todd. He is a coach. He is a podcast producer. He's a public speaker. And now he is an author.
That's so funny, bro. It's hilarious.
And more importantly, he's just a high-quality human being who understands the importance of sunsets and the positive side. Right, so until then, I hope you all enjoy yourself. I hope you've learned from this podcast today. I don't see how you couldn't. But other than that, this is the positive side.